Okay, so last class we talked about like the most important rules in terms of just remembering the rules about your lines. Okay, so if we kind of cover that again. Okay, so in a 1-point perspective, what is the main rule that you need to remember about your lines? What's the main rules? So you have 3 types of lines. What do they do in a 1-point perspective? I'll give you a hint since it's early. What do they do? Vertical lines remain what in the 1-point perspective? Vertical lines remain vertical. Horizontal lines do what in a 1-point perspective? How do
They
they,
remain
what do they?
horizontal.
Perfect, thank you. And orthogonals do what? They're orthogonals. Okay. Okay, and then in a 2-point, sorry, I'm typing here with my finger. What's the rule for 2-point? What happens with your lines in 2-point?
Vertical is vertical and then horizontal is orthogonal.
Mm-hmm.
Is that right? I don't know about orthogonal.
Yeah, they just remain orthogonals.
Oh yeah, makes sense.
Yep. So then in 3-point, then vertical, horizontal, orthogonal. What's the rule for 3-point? Vertical lines become what?
Isn't everything orthogonal?
Perfect. Orthogonal, orthogonal, orthogonal. Okay. So that does not mean, y'all, that in like a 2-point or 3-point, you won't have any 90-degree, 90-degree sort of perpendicular axis happen, because you might hit some vertical lines that are purely vertical and some horizontal lines that are purely horizontal, but only when they line up with horizon line or eye level line and sort of the vanishing point. So vertical horizontal axis would be the only times that you would get vertical and horizontal, and of course they would actually still be doing an orthogonal. It's just that they're going to be lined up with something. That's really rare in 3-point. 2-point, it's a little bit more common. 1-point, it's always going to happen, with vertical, we're going to be vertical, horizontal will be horizontal. Okay, so let's go ahead and turn this off. Okay, and let's just go ahead and turn on that 1-point perspective grid. And let's move the vanishing point to a little bit higher up towards the top of the left. Now I like to move it around because I want you to always remember that it doesn't have to be in the center of the page. Okay. So what the vanishing point correlates to, if you remember from your reading, is your standing point. So your standing point, or whatever that might be, will affect the location of the vanishing point. Okay. Your horizon line is equal to your eye level. So that means that sometimes, even though you can see the horizon, if you lower or raise yourself, then your eye level might change. And so those are just 2 important places to sort of consider because they correlate to your vanishing point. Okay. So let's go ahead and clear that. All right, so let's go ahead and let's just turn off the perspective grid because we're going to make just a good old-fashioned rectangle over here in the corner. Boop. Then you can turn your grid back on so it works. Make sure your magnet's on. Okay, and this is just a review. This is a 1-point perspective. We know it's a 1-point perspective because what is happening with this form? What's the most important thing to see about this form that's going to make it obviously a 1-point perspective?
You have one of the faces straight on.
Yes, was that both answers the same?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Yeah. So one of the faces of the form is facing you, and you can see that it has horizontal lines. You can see that it has vertical lines, so you know it's going to be 1 point perspective. But the key indicator is like that facing part. If it's a 2 point perspective, you have a corner because you're looking down 2 different directions. Okay. So let's see if my Apple Pencil's charged here. So then we're just going to draw the orthogonals. Okay. Try to get them from the corner intersections just because that's going to help you get a more accurate perspective. So go ahead and draw your orthogonals. And then next we're going to determine the length. Oh,
Sorry, quick question. How do you move the point on the perspective grid? Because mine is like not working.
is it locked?
Yeah.
So do you see my
Well,
little,
no, it's not. Let me see.
so when it's unlocked, you can see that big blue vertical vanishing point. Do you see? Do you see how the vanishing point is blue? When I lock it, it goes away.
Yeah, no, yeah, mine isn't showing that. I don't know. It's not showing a point in the middle at all. And it's not. Oh, okay. Sorry. I got it.
Okay.
I got it. I was
No
looking at the
problem.
wrong thing.
Okay, yeah, no problem.
Okay,
at all.
sorry.
Yeah,
Thank
of
you.
course, no worries, no worries. Okay. Okay, so let's determine the length. Let's make this kind of a rectangular length. So that means that the side that's moving away from us is going to be longer than the side that's facing us. Now let's make sure that all of your lines connect and are closed. See how my line didn't quite connect there? So sometimes it's just really important to zoom in there. Boop. So I'm a little bit off there on that left intersection. And if you're using your finger on your phone or something, you're totally going to have lines that don't connect. And I completely understand. Okay. Completely. Okay. So now just go ahead and make a new layer. Okay, and then just trace over all the lines that you need. Okay, so we need this line here. We need, oh, I'm gonna fix it. We need this line here. 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 Okay. We need this line here. This line. And I'm just fixing where I was off before, trying to get it a bit more accurate. So my corners really do join that line. That line. Okay, then just make sure that they all sort of connect in the corners so we can use a paint bucket tool to check it. I'm just gonna go in and just use my eraser tool and just kind of like clean up my corners. Gives me a chance too to make sure everything's connected. Okay. Then let's just use the paint bucket tool and let's play around with just making our different sides, solid and analogous. So analogous means colors that are next to one another on the color wheel. So let's just kind of like think about them being based on, like where can we pretend the light's going to come from? So let's make this plane here. Let's make that plane like the darkest. Well, not the darkest, middle gray or middle value. And then let's just pull this down to a darker red. And then we started here, so let's just go up. So this is just tints and shades, I guess I should have said, but they could also just be analogous, like next to each other on the color wheel like this. That would work too. Just so that we have some variation in the shades, tints, and color. I'm gonna go ahead and make this little line there. Just gonna zoom in, turn off my bucket tool. I just want to make that little line in there, this color. Pick up my color here, and I'm just gonna color over that too. So now it's nice and solid. Solid! Solid as a rock, 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 rock. Okay. Your stones doesn't have to be perfect, just different colors like that. So then if we just take this, we're gonna just drop its opacity down. We're gonna pull that layer back on. You can see I got a little bit of a boo-boo here, so I'm just gonna erase this boo-boo. Okay, so let's find the center of these, some of these faces. So I'm gonna go with a white. I think that will show up. Not really. I think
Which-
perhaps
Which layer should we be on?
we're on the layer with the orthogonals. So think about that one as your final layer that you don't want to draw on until things are solid. Okay. So we're on this layer with the orthogonals. We're going to use our diagonal line tool. And let's start off by finding the top center. Okay. And then once I've found the center like that, then I can turn my perspective grid on. And I can use that to help me find the orthogonal for the receding center, and then the horizontal for the horizontal center that's facing us. Now we're gonna put a hole in the top of this box. Okay, and we want it to be diminishing in size because it's in perspective. So we're going to further divide the space. Okay, so what we're gonna do is go ahead and make a new layer. And then take that layer you just had and just kind of like bring that down in opacity, just so we can kind of see it. So then we're gonna use our diagonal tool. We're gonna go corner to corner. Corner to corner. Now we divided that space into quarters. And so I just like to use the perspective tool for the horizontal lines because it makes it easy to get a perfect horizontal line. Doesn't mean it'll be in the right place, but you know, there it is.
I'm so far behind, but I'm just having trouble with some, so I'm just watching right now. That's okay.
Okay, where were you in class, last class?
Yes.
Okay, so what's problematic? Tell me so I can understand and help.
I'm having trouble with filling in each, what's it called?
Face.
Side, each face, right, with colors.
Okay, skip that bit.
Cool.
Yep, not an issue. If you can't get it to fill in, don't worry about it, just skip that bit. So you're gonna see like a lot today. I'm gonna divide the space a lot so that it starts to just become second nature to you, that like this is a way that you find measurements. Now, if we were using like a ruler with numbers on it, then we could use like a numerical system, like, and just make things very even. Like the section on the front is an inch, the next section is 3/4 of an inch, the next section is a half an inch, and the final section is 1/4 of an inch. But like we're not doing that, and also this is a way to create a space which might be less sort of like numerically predictable. Okay. So now I have this. Okay. So what I want to do is I'm going to change my color so you can see. Maybe a blue would be good. And I'm just going to divide, sorry, wrong tool. Diagonal tool. I'm just going to divide this top space and this space again. So now you can see I just created an eighth, a quarter, an eighth, an eighth.
Okay, so I'm a little behind.
Sure.
Can you go back to, I just divided the box in the top rectangle in half. Can you go back a little bit?
Sure.
Thank you.
So those of you that are at this point, you can see that I just created the 1/8 sections. So this is where you want me to go back to?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Yeah, of course. So you can see that on that top edge, so here we were, and just like we did in class the other day, I used corner to corner to find the center of the space. Okay. Next thing I did was I did my orthogonal, which divided the space in the receding direction. And then I did my horizontal. So I think I know, it's not that I'm whatever, but I just think of it as the Union Jack. Okay, the flag of England. Okay.
How did you
So now
get that? Sorry,
diagonal lines on the top plane again?
Diagonal lines in the top plane again.
That's the
Oh.
from the back corner to the front right.
You're going to turn off the perspective grid
Got it.
and click on the diagonal tool.
What's the diagonal? Bigger
It
on the-
has a square and a circle.
Got it.
Click on that, and one of those tools is a diagonal line, or it's just a line tool.
Got it.
Okay. So what happens, y'all, is as we build this, it starts to look super complicated, but really it's not. It's just like divide the space again, divide the space again, divide the space again. Okay, all you're doing is corner to corner, horizontal line, corner to corner, horizontal line. And by doing that, you're just getting equal sections of the space. Celeste, you happen to be in my screen right now. So are you doing okay?
Yeah, I'm up to date.
Okay, cool. Okay, so then the next step would be to divide that space again, but you just created 2 halves. Now you're going to divide those halves into half. So now we have quarters. Now, if you think it's hard on the computer, try doing it like it's even more difficult with like the ruler and the pencil and the paper. But just like with the ruler and the pencil and the paper, the computer has tools that like you have to get familiar with.
Where's the opaque tool?
So what you're gonna do is just click on your layer and drag the opacity down.
Got it.
Or while you're drawing, you can just change the opacity of your tool. It's up to you. On the desktop, I think the opacity is like the little, when you have like this little thing, it looks like this where the layer is. Oh, now I'm gonna have to, oh, I don't know if that's gonna mess me up, but it has like it has circles.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's like a little slider bar here. And you can drag that up or down to change the opacity.
Okay.
And it's actually literally blue. It's like a light blue.
Usually there.
Do you have, are you on the desktop version?
Yeah, I'm on this.
So do you have your, the window with your layer editor open?
Yes.
Okay. So then when you look at the layer, you can see there's like a little slider on the right side.
Uh-huh.
And just move that up and down, and it'll change the opacity.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay, I get it.
Cool, good, okay. Okay, and then the next step would be like, I'm gonna have to redo it, but that's no problem because it's quite simple. Okay, the next step is like, we're just now going to find a couple 8s. So we're gonna go corner to corner. Okay, horizontal through the center. And then corner to corner. Okay. Okay. Now, we've got some 8s going on, and so let's roll with that. We're going to basically, I don't know, sometimes I find it helpful to kind of turn it for me when I do this. So then what we're gonna do, right, is like now we've got these sections, these 8 sections. Oh, blimey. Apparently I made that horizontal line in the back there really wrong. Just erase that. There we go. That's a bit better. Okay, so now we've got those 2, we have, right, like we have an 8th here and we have an 8th here. So now we're just going to look to find the 8th section on the left and right side. All right, so again, I always just make new layers because they're free, like makes me feel like I'm getting something for free. So now what we're going to do is we're just going to use that tool. We have our central line coming through here, right? We're going to find the vertical corner to corner here. We'll change color so you can see it. Here and here. Pull those down so they're a little bit lighter for you. Here. Whoopsie. Here and here. So now that's the center of each half of that. Turn on that tool so you can get a nice, easy orthogonal. Oops. Make sure your magnet's on, huh? So now we have a quarter, right? A quarter, a quarter, a quarter, but what we're looking for is an eighth. So guess what? Divide the space just a hair more. Again, if you want, you make a new layer. Pull that opacity down. Corner to corner, corner to corner. Turn on your grid tool, orthogonal, orthogonal.
I just finished the part where you put it into eighths.
Okay, cool.
Okay.
So I'll just talk for a sec then. So if you notice, this section now is quite larger compared to this section, even though they're both physically an eighth. Why is this side wider than this side?
Because with perspective, one's closer to me, so you can see more of that side, that bit.
Correct. Absolutely. So here's my standing point and my vanishing point. So as we get further away from the vanishing point to the right, it's going to diminish more and more in size. Ideally, your picture space in terms of getting like an ideal perspective in here is going to basically just be 60% of the picture space. That's probably larger than 60%. Once you move too far to the right, or you move too far to the bottom, you're going to get major distortions. So you kind of have to think about that sometimes, otherwise you end up getting quite extreme distortions. But that is correct. This is closer to the central axis, and so this side will be wider, the outside will be smaller. So now what I'm looking at, I'm going to make a new layer, and what I'm looking at is just kind of like grabbing. I'm going to turn on the perspective grid. That. 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 Bloody hell, that was a lot of work. It seems like a lot right now, y'all, but what's going to happen is the more you do it, the easier, of course, it will become. And it will just become something which you just remember. Like you will literally just be like, oh yeah, that's where that goes.
Wait, so the lines that you just made to make that smaller rectangle inside, did you just connect the corners where each 1/8 intersected?
Absolutely. You see 1/8 there,
Very cool. Okay.
1/8 there. So really, those are the two layers that we would need. Now, for somebody who is not mathematically inclined and who is dyslexic, mathematically dyslexic as well, you know, that was rough for me to learn when I was younger. But luckily, y'all have a video you can go back and watch. You know, when I learned this in college, we only had stone tablets and hammers and chisels, and we were trying to take notes, because it was so long ago, you know. Okay, so check this out. If I took that, let's turn off these other layers. I don't need them. I just need this. Okay. So if I took that and I just used my paint bucket tool and I filled it in, oy, I would start to get sort of like early 2000s empty space video game style. Okay, but it's 2021. So what we need to do is figure out how to make it look like we're looking inside this thing. So that means what I really need back there is some type of corner line. Okay, and where it's going to go is right here. Now I'm looking down inside of it. Now, if we were to fill that in, we said that the top layer was the brightest layer, brightest face. Okay. And so we want this to be darker than the top layer, but not as dark perhaps as the outside layers or faces. So I'm just going to go in here, use my tool, and you don't have to do this. This just helps. That's the color on the outside. And I just want to add some darkness to that to make it a shade. Then I can fill in this. I can pull it just a little bit more dark and fill in that. Now, if you don't get to the point where you can fill things in, no problem. No problem at all.
Hi, I have a really dumb question.
Sure.
When the desktop version, if you accidentally exit the layers, how do you get them back?
Go to the top of the screen, and you should see like a menus, and one of them should say window.
Okay.
Hit window and then hit edit or layer editor.
Thank you.
You're so welcome. Oh, I love easy questions. Like they make me feel good.
Will you be releasing this video today?
I'll try to get it up today. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and y'all, in terms of classwork, when you upload your classwork to the discussion, I'm just looking for what you did in class. It doesn't have to be perfect and finished. Okay. Now, if what we do today in class and then after rewatching the video, it's still not making sense, then reach out to me for an office visit. Okay, and I can have, this week my office hours are completely booked, both today and tomorrow, but I can definitely reach out. If you reach out, we can definitely book you an office visit next week. Okay. Okay, so seems really complex, really isn't that complex. Okay, if we go through the process again, we're basically just finding centers of faces and dividing them. So if I wanted to, I could then even find the center of this face. And create the same type of hole on this side. With the same measurements that would be accurate to our perspective by just doing the same thing that we did up there. Right, then we could create a hole on this side that we could then see through to the other side. I just think that looks so pretty. Like as an artist, it just makes me happy. I don't know why. It's just a bunch of beautiful divisions. Look at it, it's just gorgeous. This is part of what they would call like sacred geometry, y'all. And so sacred geometry is one of the reasons why y'all have pieces of paper that are 8.5 by 11, 18 by 24, 24 by 36. It's all based on divisions of spaces that are pictorially comfortable. If you're not here, don't worry about it. I'm just playing. I'm showing you how playful you can be. There's no silly questions. There's no wrong answers. You know what I mean? We're totally get through this. Look at that. There's that. So then I could take that. It's not going to work. I have to do it on this layer. Can find that orthogonal. Find this corner. I can say, okay, well, let's pick that color up there. It's going to go here. Oh, right, it's not on. There it is. What exactly happened there? Interesting. The red is interacting with the other color. See? Interesting, huh? Color theory. Take this color, put that in there. So then we could create that inside of that space, do you see? I'm just playing right now, y'all, just waiting for you all. Some of you might be here. Some of you might be able to play like this. If you can't, that's okay. You'll figure it out. You'll get better at it. Looks more accurate. Where'd my little line go? So of course that isn't completely right. You know, why would it be? And y'all, again, you're just taking your time to get to the as far along as you can. Some of you might be here. So if you're not here, don't worry about it. If you are, then this isn't quite right yet because we don't have our interior thickness. But we can create that just by drawing vertical corner here, horizontal there, and now because it lines up with that spot, we know where that's going to be. So then that would give us an idea of what the interior thickness of the outside wall might be like. So then we could even assign that a different color. And I'm just playing, y'all. Don't worry if you can't, if you're not here, no frets, okay? No worries. All I'm doing is just showing how you can just continue to divide that space. If you wanted the wall to have that thickness, that's might be what it looks like. Okay. Okay. Questions? Just play. Okay, maybe if you figured that out already and that makes a lot of sense, you can just divide up the next side, see what you can do. So I'm recording again, everybody, just FYI. So we just found the center of the page by drawing corner to corner, corner to corner of the page, and then we place the vanishing point into the center. Looked like this. Oops. We drew corner to corner, and then we moved the vanishing point to match up to that center. And so now we just have these two lines is what we need, these two orthogonals. So we're going to do like the classic road drawing here, but we're just going to build it up at our pace. Oh, wait, I forgot. Oy. All right, hold on. We're not ready for this drawing yet. Hold on. We are, but we're not. I want to do one more drawing with you. So sorry, clear that away. I apologize. I was trying to remember why did the class yesterday take so long to get to the road? And now I remembered how and why. So we're going to do what they did because I think it was a good example for them. Okay. So you can leave the vanishing point where it is. Okay. And what we're going to do is we're going to build a complex form. Okay, we're going to start off with a horizontal line. You pick where it goes. Okay, and then let's turn on your rectangle tool. And pardon me. Let's use the rectangle tool, and I want you to make as close to a square as you can down here. Just visually eye it. Okay. And then just take that layer and duplicate it. And use your arrow tool and just drag it up. And just drop it. So now we have a rectangle that is equal on the top and the bottom.
What do you mean by arrow tool?
It's this little it looks like a compass. On the desktop version, you would use the selector tool. Let me open it up and show you. It's just a nice way to, in what we just did, it's just a nice way to create like an even top and bottom.
Where was it on your iPad when you're done with it?
Okay, so on the desktop, it's going to be right here. It's a selection tool you see. And there's a little arrow. So what I would do is I would just create my square. Now we use the original line just as a marker for us to see where we wanted to locate our form. I created my square. And then I just, where's my duplication? Duplicated it. Then you could just go here and click on the arrows. And now I just hold the arrow and I just lift straight up with I've got my button held down, my mouse button. I'm just gonna lift it straight up like so.
Sweet, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay. And where is it on the, where did that go? On the iPad, it's just at the top, on the top menu, there's like these 4 little arrows. And then we move here and then we don't have the same tool, we just lift up and down.
I can't see what you're choosing. It's behind that I'm viewing your screen, the green line. I'm on the transform. Is that what it is? The 4 arrows outward, is that transform?
Yeah, it looks like this. Do you see it?
Yes, yes. So I press that, but then what? I can't move it upward. When I try to move it upward, it just moves my square. Doesn't make a second one.
Oh, you have to duplicate the layer first.
Oh,
So this is my layer with my square. So just click on it and hit duplicate.
oh,
Then go to the arrow tool for transform and then just lift it up.
oh, thank you.
You're welcome. I know Zoom gets in the way a lot when I'm teaching. I can't see what I'm doing.
Yeah,
know.
I know. It was blocking. The
Yeah.
pictures were blocking the tool, and then the top says you are viewing Molly J. Vaughan's screen. So I can't
Yeah.
see what's at the top.
That's why I'm always reminding everybody, like if you hit the chat, I can't see the chat because I can't open, I have to like go and find it. So that's why I always encourage everyone to speak up.
Oh,
So
okay.
yeah, I find it can take up a lot of space, the Zoom.
Yes, it does. Oh, well. Thank you.
Yeah. Oh, well, amazing technology. You're right, like overall. Okay, so now I'm going to turn my perspective grid back on. And then I'm going to make sure my magnet's turned on. And then basically I'm just going to do orthogonal, 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 orthogonal. Okay, now I don't really need to do orthogonals from the front corner. I'm just going to do orthogonals from the back corner on that top one. So I'm going to zoom in so it's not doesn't appear so small. It'd be easier for me to work with when it's like that. I'm going to change colors so I can keep track a little bit easier.
Sorry, quick question. How do you keep the perspective grid on when you're doing the vanishing points? Because it doesn't work for me.
Are you on the desktop?
Yeah.
Yeah, you shouldn't see any of the vanish. You shouldn't see any of the blue lines. Your orthogonals
Okay.
are linked to your cursor. You want me to show you? Okay, hold on. Let me pull up the sketchbook. So when I click the perspective tool, like you can see, you have no grid.
Yeah.
What you have is the cursor.
Oh, wait, maybe I'm not on desktop. Sorry.
You're on the app. Did you get it?
No, but I'll figure it out. It's fine.
Did you find it?
I don't have desktop, that's for sure, because it's not on my cursor.
So are you on like a what, like a Surface, a iPad? So are you on
I'm on a Dell. It's
Okay, so-
Chromebook laptop, so I don't know.
Okay, so yeah, you are using the desktop version.
Oh, mine doesn't look, the cursor doesn't look like that though. I don't have anything on my cursor actually.
So are you on the, can you share your screen with me?
Yeah.